everybody. Welcome back to Sarah's Table. As you can see, I'm here all by myself today. I have recently returned from a trip, and I decided that I wanted to have something kind of cozy and small for this particular one. My name is Sarah Moore. My pronouns are she, her. And you can find me all over the internet at Pixies and Pins. And today we're going to play 1,000-Year-Old Vampire by Tim Hutchings, which I've been super interested in for a really long time. And there is, upon checking things out in here, there's a quick game version of this. So normally it is a journaling game where you could potentially just be like working on your vampire for years and years if you wanted, for super long time. But there is a way of playing the game that is it's like much faster. And so I thought I would give that a go for here on stream. But because it is such an interesting concept to me, I think I probably will also be expanding it, maybe with a little bit of different variation of the vampire that I create over on my Ko-Fi, which is obviously Pixies and Pins. So you can check that out. But I really thought that this was very appropriate because it is getting to feel a touch like fall outside. And you know, frankly, all of the Halloween decorations are out, and it's getting to be, you know, that kind of spooky type of year. And so I thought vampires. Also, today is International Literacy Day. And this is designed to look like it is a library book. So layers on layers on layers, like a parfait. Everybody loves parfait. Points to anyone who got that reference. Let me do a quick safety discussion. I know it's just me here, but like you are here too at home, and I want you to know what you are getting into. And here on Sarah's Table, you will never find sexual violence, violence against children, or withholding food as punishment or starvation. Because I am the only one that is here, I know I will not wander into territory that I have, you know, it's going to be triggering in any way. However, I'm able to just stop myself if I start going down a path, or there's a prompt in here that is maybe something that I'm not interested in. I will just, you know, re-roll or skip and redirect. Okay. So let's talk about vampires for a minute. So people who watch the show know that I don't love being scared. It's just not a thing that I like, which I think is really interesting because prior to having children, I was like all about horror movies. I really loved them. I loved going to like super spooky movies. And since I had kids, my body chemistry changed. And now that like rush of fear just makes me want to throw up like immediately, which is wild. I don't know why the change happened, but I just like don't like anything scary anymore. And so really the way that I interact with Halloween is like the Disney, like family aimed at children cartoon kind of fun Halloween stuff. And I'm not, you know, I do not feel ashamed about that at all. I'm totally fine with that. So if you at home are like, oh boy, I don't like scary things, it's okay. I don't either. But I think one of the things that's really interesting for me is that because I love stories so much, I really, really love the idea of the vampire lore. I just think it's really cool. Like the idea of having someone be effectively immortal. Like, what does that do to your relationships? Like, think of the amount of time that you would have do all of the things that you want to do. Like you could be, there's so many books that I want to read. So many skills that I want to teach myself. And like, as a vampire, as somebody who's going to live forever, right? Like, what if you go through a stage where you're like, I don't know, I'm just really into macrame. And then you just like macrame everything forever until you have gotten it out of your system. And you could get really, really good at stuff and be really good at things. And I understand that there's definitely problems with living forever. You know, if the people that you love are not also vampires, are not also immortal, that you have to watch them go, and that can cause a lot of grief. And like maybe something that you loved is just not around anymore because society has moved past it. I understand that there are problems, but like I am choosing to see the good stuff in it because maybe that's just like my way. #joyfulgaming. So frankly, like I want to see the fun stuff in this vampire. I want to see the cool bonuses that you get by being able to live for 1,000 years. And like I would rather have my vampires be much more What We Do in the Shadows, directed by Taika Waititi, instead of like really hardcore, just like terrifying Dracula situations. Yeah. Ramble time is over. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's make a vampire. I just want to talk about the book for a little bit. The book itself is really beautiful, and it looks really worn. Like it looks like there are things taped to it, and you can sort of see the transparency of the tape, and that, you know, there's stuff on the side like dings and stuff. If it'll focus on it. Yeah, there we go. And the same thing inside, like it looks like it has been written in, you know. I'm fairly certain that's maybe supposed to be blood, but you know, it's got like if you had gone to a library book sale or an estate sale, and it's got little handwritten things inside it. And the way that it is put together inside looks like it has little scraps of paper from different things tucked into it. And I think that's really cool. I wish, and I know that this is very hard to do, but I wish that there was a copy of this that had all of these pieces actually tucked into it, actually taped so that it was tactile. Because I just like really love the idea. That's what I would do with my journals. And this is supposed to be a journal of the vampire that is that old. And as you are going with it, like I do feel like if it were mine, I would be tucking little mementos in. Like this is like where you put ticket stubs of something that you have seen, or a little scrap of something that's written on by somebody important in your life. And I love that idea. I think it's really cool. There's like photographs taped in, and I feel like the way that was put together was so smart and beautiful and like loving, and that there are stuff that it looks like you are missing some of the text. You are not. Tim Hutchings was very smart. He did not cover anything that you need, but there's just like this little bits of hints that there's things underneath. On this page, it's got a bunch of things that are like tucked in, articles and things, and it just like overlaps the text just enough so that you can tell that it continues on underneath. And so the idea that there's maybe things still underneath there, I like, it was put together so beautifully. And it reminds me of like one of my favorite places in the world, which is truly just like a library. I just really like being around books, and like like having that old book smell, which I understand is like books decaying. I get that that's like not like a cool thing. But I like the way they smell. Also, I am a sucker for a journal that has the fancy built-in ribbon bookmarks. Like I always felt so fancy when I was a kid and I had those like, oh, it's got a bookmark built in. Listen, small joys for me. I have always really reveled in them, and this is just like ticking all of my boxes. So it's a very simple concept. You are a vampire. That's it. You are a vampire, and this is your journal, and it is journaling your life. One of the things that happens as a vampire in this game is that your journal can only hold 5 memories. And as you make more memories, because you are so old, you have to give up memories in order to make space for the new memories. And that sort of happens with skills as well. So making this less, to make it more of a game and less of just like a journaling prompt exercise, you need 1 D10, which I have right here. These look a little bloody. Oh no, focus on it and not my face. There we go. These are made by Poppy Dice, and they're so pretty, and I really love them. And you need 1 D6. Beep, 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 beep. They're just so pretty with all of the stuff in them. I might need to go get some more from Poppy Dice because her work is truly beautiful. I just like love dice. I maybe need more. You should have with you something to write in. Now, it does say that should you choose, the prompts are all in this book, and you can write directly into your journal. Oh, but I just don't feel like I can do that. Writing in a book is really hard for me. I like can't deface it, just like I can't dog ear a page. I don't know. It's something about respecting the book. But if you feel good about that and you own it, get on there. Just get in there and do it. Also, there are tables if you don't have access to dice. There are tables in the back that you can use, and it suggests that you drop a coin or like close your eyes and point a finger or whatever to help choose some random numbers. But I have so many dice, so we are going to use dice today. And then the other thing that you need is like some place to write your stuff down in, paper and pencil. If you want, you can do it in a Word document. Word type is where my brain was going. Good job, Sarah. You can type it in a Word document on your computer. It says in the quick game, which I'm doing today, probably only need a few pieces of paper. But if you are going to do a journaling game, you could fill an entire diary. And like, oh, that's exciting to me because that means I get to go buy a very special journal just for this, which I know is going to be a thing because I said that I would put it up on my Ko-Fi, which means that I probably have to type it anyway. But I could also have a really pretty journal. Yeah, I'm going to do both. Okay. I guess there are also multiplayer rules, but I like the idea of this being really solitary. I think being a vampire is lonely in general. And so I think I want to reflect that. Okay. Let's make our vampire. I have everything I need to play. There are 5 traits. We've got memories, skills, resources, characters, and marks. And then we are going to be receiving prompts. And every time I get a prompt, it's going to affect one of those traits. Maybe a memory will go away. Maybe I tax a skill and I'm not going to be able to use it. Maybe my resource gets like used up. Perhaps I lose one of my relationships, or my marks get more intense, and marks are like physical things about your character, like that show that you are a vampire. I feel like the rest of those are pretty self-explanatory. Okay. They do say if you lose anything, that you should make sure that it is still readable, so that, because there might be ways to refer back to it. So memories are important moments, and they are the core of your vampire's self. What I know, what I care about. And then an experience is an event. And generally, a memory is made up of several experiences. But in the quick game, you do not use experiences. So it's trying to streamline. So you just do memories instead of having the memories be multifaceted, so that you can get things moving and continue on. All right, here we go. I am allowed 5 memories. That seems like not a lot of memories for 1,000 years. So you're... Oh, interesting. All right, here we go. Vampire creation. Ba-ba-bo. Do you like that song? Tim Hutchings, you can have that for free. Just cite your sources. That is how you can do little jingle. Which I really feel like it captures the emotion of probably what you were going for with the original game. Just like jazz hands, like vampire creation. Pow, pow, pow. Let me know. It's yours. Also have some water, friends. Even though it's getting cooler, you were still dehydrated. Okay. Start by imagining a person in the distant past, a Roman emperor, a Mesopotamian midwife, a French knight. This is the person that is becoming your vampire. This creation part is super open-ended. It's like, hey, you get to pick your own skills. What do you think your character would have been able to do? And with that, what do you think your character would have resource-wise? Little, big, doesn't matter. It can be something like a knife, or it can be a fleet of ships. Like, you get to just figure this out. So if your brain is feeling taxed, you maybe want to do some research about what it is. But I think I am going to be so Halloween time makes me think of like mummies, and mummies make me think of I believe it was 1990, maybe a little bit later, 1990 something. Ooh, my brain won't work. But the the action adventure movie, The Mummy, with Brendan Fraser. Because welcome to my backstory, my personal backstory, Sarah's backstory. For the longest time, I just wanted desperately to be like an Egyptologist. I even applied to grad school to go and be a part of an Egyptology program that would have allowed me to study at the British Museum. Like I had all my references, I had everything together. But it turns out that Egyptologists, the only job that they can get is like teaching Egyptology to other people who want to be Egyptologists. I just like really love everything about it. I've always really been fascinated by Egyptian culture. And so I am going to have my vampire be from ancient Egypt. I don't think she was like royalty of any kind. Like, I really think she was just like a person. I like the idea of maybe being a midwife or whatever they would have called it at the time. I think she is like a healer. She's an Egyptian healer, but I think she was just like in a small village, just very chill. It's the equivalent of like the village witch, the village wise woman, but in Egypt. Let's give her a name. No, I feel like I need an Egyptian name. I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't know what would be a proper Egyptian name. Let's find out. I am grateful for the internet. Ancient Egyptian female names. Seems like there's a lot of after gods. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna go with Heba, Heba. It is known, sort of a play on an Arabic name as well. It means gift, which I like. Okay. So I am Heba. A daughter of Layla, which is another name that I saw in there, which is an interesting, because it is filtered down through the years and is now apparently still very popular in Egypt and kind of all over the world. I know a lot of Laylas who are not Egyptian. Born near the, well, so the thing that they have in here is, I am Henri, son of Jean, born near the Loire Valley in the 13th century of our Lord. I am a poor knight swindled out of my inheritance. So I'm following that little nugget. I am Heba, daughter of Layla, born near the cradle of life. I don't know that they would have called it that at the time, but that's okay. In timing wise, just call it. I understand I need to do more research timing wise for when I do the big long journaling one. But for right now, just in ancient Egypt, I am a village healer who leads a modest life. So the first experience that you do, most experiences are a little bit more focused when we are doing this, as you are like creating your memories and things. But the first memory, the first experience is pretty broad because it is how you became a vampire. That is your first memory. So truly, it seems like your life kind of starts over. When you are born as a vampire, it replaces everything that happened prior to ish, because you still have a little bit of your knowledge left over. You still have some of your relationships, but those are going to go away pretty quickly. So this is like the start of your undead existence, your unlife, your new unlife. Again, Tim Hutchings, feel free to use any of this language that I am inserting into your game. You're welcome. Can't help it. Okay. So how did I become a vampire? I don't want it to be a violent thing. I want this to be a consenting thing. I want this to be a thing that she embraced instead of having it happen to her. I don't want this to be a situation where, you know, some creature took it away from her, took something from her that she wanted to keep. I'm going to say, and while this adds a touch of melancholy and some backstory, I think maybe she was sick with something that she could not cure. It's maybe hereditary. I think that her mother died young of some wasting disease, and she started to exhibit symptoms of that disease and decided that that was not how she wanted to live. And she tried, that's probably why she became a healer in the first place, was to try to find the cure, and along the way was able to help a lot of people in other things. But because she was not able to halt the progress of what was happening to her body, and I think she's very realistic, no, I know that this is what's happening. I saw my future. This is what I'm going to have. This is what I'm going to do. And this creature came through where she lived and offered, basically, I can take that away from you. You won't have this anymore. I can help you. Then you'll live forever, and your body will stay in the same state that you are now. You will always be young and beautiful and healthy, and your body will stop fighting itself. And I think she decided that was preferable to a slow wasting end. And so she welcomed the change. All right. Oh, I just have that whole thing just buzzing around in my head. I want to get so incredibly detailed with it. Oh, you'll have to go to my Ko-Fi. You'll have to go to it's not going to be there today because I am doing this right now. But I really want to explore her. And so I think I'll rebuild her in the journal form and then start releasing it, because it's just I've got it in there. I've got that idea. Ba-bam. Okay. So now I create at least 3 mortals. They have a relationship with my vampire. They are relatives, friends, lovers, enemies, mentors, debtors, whatever would have been appropriate for the time period that you have chosen. So, because I am in ancient Egypt, but she is a poor, not poor, but she doesn't live in the palace. She wouldn't know any of the pharaohs. She wouldn't know. Well, I mean, she might later, but at the time of becoming this creature, she doesn't live in splendor. She wouldn't know anybody who was traveling dignitaries, leaders from other lands. I think she has A partner? Oh no, gotta pull out those names again. Here we go. Let's look them up. All right. Oh, it's still open. Delightful. Oh, wow. Well, Sarah is apparently a popular name in Egypt. So her partner's name is Sarah. I think they've been partners for years, probably, maybe 15 years. I think she has a regular patient who is a good friend of hers, has become a good friend of hers. I think the idea of a vampire who is like a caretaker, somebody who wants to ease your passing and be there to help you get through things, I think is something that is maybe not explored very often. Vampires are usually like very, honestly, like very sexy, right? Like everything is very sensual and sexual with vampires, and like it's all that, or terrifying. This thing that is stalking you throughout continents and time, and just like and there's this inevitability of like not being able to outrun this creature who has nothing but time and patience. I don't think it needs to be like that. Like, I think that it can be the comfort of somebody in your life who is solid and unchanging. If you think about who you think about when you need comfort, it is somebody who is consistent in your life, whether it's a parent or a friend or a partner. Like, you see them as comfort because they are solid, and in your eyes, maybe a little unchanging because they are stable. And they're the ones that you go to when you feel out of control. And so if you make like a creature that can live forever in an unchanging state, think about what that could be. I mean, it's maybe lonely and a little sad for the vampire, but like the amount of people that you could help, that you could be solidly helping. And so you should think about like the equivalency of like in D&D of elves and humans. Humans just live so much less time than elves, that elves deal with their lives and relationships differently than somebody who has a tenth of the amount of time. And so they're seen as wise, even if they're not very wise, because they just have like the advantage of years. And I think that is how I would like to approach my vampire. Like, maybe Heba can be help and stability and joy and comfort to the people that she is coming in contact with, instead of being like this scary thing that stalks you and you feel powerless against. It's all perspective and how you approach your relationships, which I think is maybe a strange corollary to just life in general. Like, it's true. Like, this is how do you want to be perceived? I say that with like such a strong personal brand of joy and safety. So I understand that most people, when they make vampires, are going to be like, "Ooh, let's make them super creepy. Let's be scary. Let's have the thing floating outside your house and like leaving you in this state of terror. But I don't want that. I want this to be such a calm, like I want to be a calming presence. I want to be a protector, and a guide as opposed to a terror. Okay. Rant over. So this friend that I have, let's check out some Egyptian male names. Just lots of named after, I think, just lots of people who are named after gods and things. But Jabari is an Egyptian name that means one who is brave. I think they have been friends for maybe the last 5 years. I think he is older. I think he is a patient. I think he's been a patient for longer than 5 years, but I think he's been considered a friend for at least, like a good friend for at least 5 years. I think Hiba can't not form attachments with people, especially people that she is caring for. I think she has to see her patients as people, which is probably pretty painful for her because I'm sure that not all of them survive. But she, and I'm going to say maybe it's a little of because of what she saw happen to her mother, and she chose not to have children, but she has all of this like love and caretaking to give. She doesn't have a place for it with her own child. And so I think she sort of sees all of the people that she is helping with her healing as children, as her children, even though often they are older than she is, but she just like feels very deeply. And I think that probably is not going to change moving forward, especially because as a vampire, she's so long lived that everybody will feel like children because they only have so much time. Okay. Does she have any enemies? I don't think she has any enemies. But I am going to say maybe. I think she has an uncle, her mother's brother, who did not get the disease. I don't even know that I know what it is. There are many to choose from. And honestly, at that time in history, they wouldn't have known what it was. I think there's a chance if this were to be a longer game that maybe one of the things that she does is go into like research to try to figure out what it was that caused a problem. I think that the uncle's name is Abasi, Abasi. It means stern, which is interesting. And I think that maybe he is very stern. And I think that it's more about the fact that he watched his sister pass, and it's hereditary. So probably also parents pass of whatever it was that this disease is. And then I think it's probably hard to let yourself feel deeply when you know that that is a thing that can happen. And I'm assuming that he carries some survivor's guilt of the fact that he did not come down with it. And now he's watching his niece, who he loves, also starting to exhibit symptoms. And I think it could be very, very hard. So, yeah, those are my three. Those are my three mortals. In the book, it says, know that these characters can and should be very important, but will not be around for long. Now I'm going to give my vampire 3 skills fitting for their lot in life and 3 resources they obtained while still mortal. And again, this is anything you want, anything that would be appropriate. So for a healer in ancient Egypt, I think skills and then resources, 3 of each. I think that, I think the skills are going to be like midwifery. I think she has delivered a lot of babies. I think that those are probably very bittersweet for her because she should not have children. She is capable, I think, or was capable when she was a human, but has chosen not to. So I think that's really hard, but I think she can't stop herself from doing that. I think sewing is a skill that she has. I think that helps with mending and having making her own clothes, but also there's a lot of sewing involved with medical stuff at that time where you'd have to be sewing up wounds and repairing, stitching. So I think that's part of it. And I think another skill that she has, I'm going to say cooking. I think she treats the whole person. And so I think that it's not just cooking. I think would also cover making medicines and poultices that you have to heat and know how things work and how things combine and how much of each thing to add. But I also think that she understands that, like, as part of caring for a person and making them get better, that it's not just healing your body. And I think food is a way that she shows love to people. And so if Heba is the person that is coming to your house to heal you because you have a broken wrist and she needs to come in and set your bone and stabilize it, that she's also probably going to bring you dinner or something. Maybe it'll have medicine in it with some painkillers and some stuff that you can take separately, but like you also need to eat. And so she's going to make sure that you have water and good tasting food and things of that nature. Like she wants, part of her healing is treating you like a person. Maybe that's just because I've been to enough doctors in my life that have just been very gruff and like, I'm not going to believe what you're talking about. And I'm sure that we have all been there, right? Where you go in and they're just like, all right, well, take this medicine and shut up and get out. And I don't think that is how she approaches it. She can't help but become invested in people. So I think resources, I think she has like a sewing kit, which could go for multi-purposes. And I think she has I think she's got like a cooking pot. Resources. What else could she have? I don't know that they did this in ancient Egypt, but I think she has a piece of jewelry that signifies like the bond with her life partner. I think, I don't think it's a ring. I think it's maybe like a necklace that they both have. And I'm counting it as a resource, especially because for a really long time in history, like women had dowries. And I know that that wasn't like a huge thing in ancient Egypt. But it's actually in some countries still like your jewelry is what you can use if you need to sell anything to get out of a situation, to get out of your current life situation. It is security. And so I think there's a lot of sentimental value with it because of the fact that it is shared with her partner. But I also think that it is like, it's like literally wearing your go bag at all times, just in case life's a little dangerous. And so she's got this security, probably keeps it hidden inside her shirt so that nobody steals it, but it's always there. She always has it. All right. I've made my first memory. I have made my skills. I have made my resources. All right. And then I create a couple of more experiences. Although I think memory wise, yeah, because I'm doing the quick game, it seems like I'm maybe skipping the experiences. Maybe not. We'll do these. Each of these experiences. I've already sort of started talking about them. So there's no reason for me not to write it down. Also, it's okay for me to do more. I just get excited about stuff. So you are supposed to, in these experiences, combine two of your vampire's traits. So the example that is here is if your vampire has a long ship as a resource and a character, a Viking who is like a father, then perhaps you would combine those two experiences by saying, Gundar takes me on my first voyage aboard the longship. His touch calms me when we first leave sight of land. So it's pretty small, but pretty impactful. And so I think I'm going to combine my partner. No, let's do uncle. I think an experience is my uncle Abasi comforts me at my mother's funeral. It's a pretty impactful one. And encourages me to become a midwife. That adds that skill in, I think. Like coming out of that is adding developing my skill. I think that the next experience is going to be at our joining ceremony. My partner, Sarah, gives me a necklace to represent our bond. And then I'm going to say that the experience is after sewing up the the first wound on a patient, I assemble a sewing kit that will work for healing. So I have all of those experiences sort of woven into me. Oh, then I need to create the immortal that gifted my vampire with unlife. Okay. I don't think he is Egyptian. I don't know that she knows where he is from. I think he is a stranger, maybe just because I like subverting things. I think maybe he's like an albino, like he's truly just all white and pale, but not in a, I think a lot of people think of vampires and they think of like the jet black hair and the red eyes and yes, pale skin, but everything else is dark and is shrouded in black and night. And I don't feel that he did that. And I think that he is beautiful in, yes, an alien way because he is so pale, especially in ancient Egypt, he would look very out of place. But I don't see him as, smelling like the grave and being scary. I think that he is probably very beautiful. And I think, and clean and just sort of swathed in white, almost in like how people might see angels in history moving forward. To the point where I feel like perhaps later when Christianity became like a big thing and people were talking about angels, that Heba was like, that sounds like maybe that's just some vampires that you were visited by. Like maybe it has nothing to do with whatever you are perceiving as God, and perhaps humans need to find a reason to be to explain things that they cannot understand. And so maybe these are just vampires that have like come in, and especially with the idea that not all vampires are scary and bad, that these are like just just folk that have come through, and often when you are visited by an angel in that thing, that they have helped you in some way. That's the whole like guardian angel thing. So I think that is I think that's how he looks. And he, I don't think, got a name. I don't know that he remembers his name. He's probably at that point so old that he's gone by many, many different names. And so I think that he goes by, I think she refers to him as the guide, because he said I can be your guide into this new life. I can guide you into a place where you are not in pain anymore. And now I have to create a mark and an experience that explains how your vampire became a creature of the night. And marks, like I said, visible indication that you are a vampire. Some examples are ever bleeding wound down the throat, eyes that are blank and white, a trailing scepter, a ferocious scar, a hollow abdomen full of rats. Okay. Clearly, when Tim Hutchings made this game, he was like, all the scary vampires only. And I am for it if that is what you want to do. But like, I think I've made it pretty clear that like I'm taking her in a different direction. So I don't want her to be gross and terrifying. We are not going the body horror route. One of the other examples is under the moon, my shadow takes the shape of a jaguar. And I like the idea of doing something with your shadow. And I think that maybe Heba doesn't have a shadow. Because I understand that, vampires only in the dark. Just like you maybe wouldn't notice it. But there are torches and there are electric lights that they can be in. And it's just the sun. You can't be in the sun. And the moon does cast shadows. And I think she just doesn't have one. And I think that can be a little unsettling, but also something that you don't necessarily notice right away, which means that she can kind of pass for a while, should she choose to. I also think she probably talks to a lot of sick people who are in different states of delusion, not because she is preying on weak people, but because that is where she feels that she is needed. And so I think that there's a good chance that like they call that out and are dismissed by people who are of sound mind and body because that's crazy, right? It's, of course she has a shadow. Your brain is playing tricks on you because you are weak or ill. And so, but she does not have a shadow at all. And then an experience that explains how you branch would become a creature of the night. Oh, I did that. I mean, I guess I can write it down. Okay. The experience of becoming a vampire is, I think, very. I don't think it's violent or painful. I think the guide offers me hope and salvation and a freedom from pain and a wasting death. And I take it. Take it by, I think he maybe bites me on my wrist. Don't think it hurts. I think it's a spreading of warmth. Like when if you have ever been to the hospital, for something that has pain involved in it, and that first bit of painkiller hits you, and it's like a relief, like your body finally relaxing because you had been tensed and holding around the amount of pain, so that when your pain is gone, your body can relax out of it. There we go. The example in the book, for those of you who may want to play this, who are going to go in the body horror direction, which is fine. I support you. Is I duel the eerie Baron Holmuller across the roof of the Abbey. He nearly cuts my head from my shoulders, but I do not die, which leads to the mark. My neck is permanently broken. I wear tight scarves and walk slowly to maintain my dignity so that it doesn't fall over. But I think the idea with the no shadow is that somehow as that warmth is spreading, he's drawing it out. And so when he draws the blood out as or maybe it's even just like this particular vampire takes your shadow, and that is how it feeds. And so now your shadow is gone. So I believe that were Heba to create more vampires, yes, you drink. You drink blood, because that is vampires. Although there's lots of different ways of being a vampire. There's energy vampires and all those things. I think she drinks her shadow. She doesn't have one. So she is taking yours if she were to do that. And that is the same thing with the guide. And that's how they feed. They take people's shadows. You've done it. So once you have finished with your vampire, they will have 3 skills, which they do, 3 resources. Yes, a mark, 3 mortals, 1 immortal, and 1 experience for each of their memories, which is true. We have done it. Okay. And now we get to scoot on into playing the game. So we have created Heba, and we are going to now move into playing. She's cool. I like her. I don't know how much play we are going to get into, but I'm going to do at least 1 memory where we add it, maybe 2. She took longer than I was expecting to build. I really like her. I really like this experience. I do want to show you 1 memory, but I feel like I just want to dive in harder to her and actually I love the idea of doing of doing a quick game, but it turns out I have too many stories to tell to do a quick game. So I am going to let's do the first one. Let's figure it out. So we get to roll some dice. Boop, 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 boop. You roll your D10 and your D6, and okay, here we go. The result of the D6, you subtract the result of the D6 from that of the D10. Oh, okay. So I have a 7 on my D10, and I have a 6 on my D6. So that means the result is a positive number, and I move forward that many prompts. If it were a negative number, I would move backwards. And if it is a 0, you do the prompt a second time. And sometimes the prompts in this book have multiple entries in them. And that's for having encountering it a second time, so that you're not just answering the same question. So I'm going to prompt number 1. Oh no. Oh, I have to eat a person. Beep, 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 beep. In your blood hunger, you destroy someone close to you. Kill a mortal character. Create a mortal if none are available, and take the skill bloodthirsty. Although it's shadow. right? I think it is true that there is an adjustment period, that the whole thing in vampire culture and lore and all of that stuff is that at the beginning, you are so hungry that you cannot control yourself. And I think the guide has left. And I think she's starving. I think she's never felt this hungry before and tries to eat regular food to sate it, which we all know this doesn't work. It's not going to work. She's got to consume somebody's shadow. And if she does that, they will either become a vampire as well, or they're going to die. And I think she is good enough friends with Jabari, and also her partner is there, and they all have conversation, and she's frantic and starving. And I think Jabari is, as we talked about, still sick. I don't think that it is the same thing that Heba had or that her mother had, but it is another, something that is just like not going to heal at that time. And I think he sacrifices himself. And so I think she doesn't know how to stop herself, and she takes everything, and he dies. She kills him. I think it is a huge regret that she carries around with her, probably for hundreds of years, even though he went to it willingly. I think it's bad. I think it's a bad thing for her. Let's move on. Okay, I have a 10 on my D10 and I have a 2 on my D6. So I'm going to go forward 8 to number 9. You develop a system for feeding. What is it? What happens to those who die? Create a skill that reflects this. That's very interesting. I think so. I think this is still in, because time has not passed. And I think this is still in ancient Egypt, because it will specifically say if, hey, time has passed. Like this number 10 I can see says a century passes. And so like we have not moved on. I think she is continuing to operate as a healer. And I think her system for feeding is to only eat the people that are not going to make it. And so her system is almost like an angel of mercy situation where she will go in. She's continuing to heal. I don't think she needs to eat every night. I don't think that this is a situation where she's like, I have to eat all the time and she's starving. She's figured it out. She's got it under control. So she keeps doing her healer thing always after the sun goes down. And then she goes in to try to heal. And I think she's figured out a way to make them comfortable prior to doing it. You know, the idea that like that pain is gone and she's able to like spread warmth and comfort through someone's body, and they're not making it out. She knows that, and they probably, well, I'm not going to say they know it. I think some of them do and accept it, and I think some of them don't realize it. But she is a skilled enough healer to know when they're not going to make it. And so she does everything she can to make them comfortable. And then she consumes their shadow slowly over the course of the night so that they can ease into passing. And she's purposely not creating more. That is something that I think she feels should be a choice. She had a choice. She's not going to force that on someone. And I don't think she feels comfortable even asking anyone yet. It's too early for that. You know, her partner is still alive, and there are still many people that she knows in the village, and I don't think that she wants to give this to anybody else yet. She is seeing it as a blessing. She can use it to help people, but she realizes that probably not everybody would see it that way, and so she is not going to force it on anybody. Consent, still very huge for her. So I think the people who die, their shadows are gone, but they do a proper burial. And I don't know that it's even noticed that their shadows are gone because of how things are happening. And I think she gets a reputation of being like, I think she's sort of prized in the village. Like, she's not feared, really, perhaps by some folks who fall ill or have a bad injury. It might be a little scary to get a visit from her, but I don't think that they view her as like something to be scared of. She is helping. And I think some folk might be afraid of that, but most people view her as someone who will let them not be alone in their final moments, if it can be helped. Create a skill that reflects this. I mean, I think it's going to be like soul guiding, because that's what I think that they are doing, truly. I know I said I was only going to do a couple, but I'm going to do another one. Let's do one more. 7 minus 2 is 5 forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While traveling, you come into conflict with another immortal. Gain a mark. Who are they? What trick did you play upon them? Create a new immortal character. Okay, so I think that there are still very much bad traditional style vampires out there in the world. I think she has left her village. I know it doesn't say move forward, but I think that it has been, years. I think she's left because like her partner has passed from old age, I think. And so it's been maybe like 50 years and she hasn't changed, and she's got to leave. She's got to go somewhere else. And so she's traveling. Her intention, I think, is to come back to her village, and she just has to wait long enough. until there's been a little bit of cycle, right? Like maybe she needs to wait another 50 years and then she can come back and establish herself as a healer again, a wise woman. And so she's traveling, and I think she encounters another creature. And I think at first she is like excited to meet somebody who is going through what she's going through. It can get lonely. Her heart is broken. She's lost the love of her life. And, years before that, her uncle passed, and just like everyone she knew has been slowly dying off. And, she's meeting new people, but she is not becoming as close to them as she previously had been because of obvious reasons, right? She's not like getting in there. And once Sarah passes, she leaves and she meets this creature, and I think the creature is not dressed all in white. I think she has taken that on. Like the guide, she doesn't have albinism, but I think that she sort of modeled herself off of that, and she dresses herself in white clothing primarily. She wants to be seen as somebody who can be trusted and loved. And I think that this creature is dirty and like raggedy clothes, and I think smells like the grave, and frequently is a blood drinker as opposed to a shadow consumer. And so I think that he is just, or even not easy to tell, even if it is male or female anymore, is sort of twisted and just scary. And like, I think she gets a scar because he like slashes at her. And it like slashes across her neck. And so she has like two or three, probably three, I'm going to say, like three sort of jagged scars that come down that she has to like heal. She knows a lot about healing. Her body doesn't have blood in it anymore. Like, she's not, she doesn't, internal functioning of vampires is not quite the same as like a regular human. And so healing it is a little bit different. She has to consume more shadows over the next couple of weeks, and things knit together. And it's not a pretty scar. I think later in her life, I think she starts to like, she covers it, right? She's got this like this jagged rip, like an animal has attacked her on her neck, and she does not want anybody that she would be seeing to be scared of it. And so she covers it with a scarf, or other pieces of clothing. But I think later in her life, she will get like a really beautiful kind of floral tattoo to cover it, to incorporate it into how she looks, so that it's something very pretty for people to look at when she is tending them, instead of like a very scary wound. Okay. And I think the new immortal character, so we had the guide. I think it's the predator. And she didn't kill the predator. She tangled with him and then left. And I think he is still out there and probably will come up. It'll come up again at some point. Right, let's find another one. Oh, negative. We're going negative. Got to go 3 back. 1, 2, 3. New laws or social mores make it harder for you to hide among the populace? How are you nearly caught and destroyed? Check a skill, create a skill, create a mortal criminal who assists you. Very interesting. I don't know how long it's been, but laws are changing. Social norms are changing. I think, let's move ourselves to Paris. I think that, it's been a couple of 100 years, maybe more, like it's a couple of centuries. And I think that, I know I'm jumping big for this, but I think that like maybe it's the time of Jack the Ripper. I think Jack the Ripper is in this particular mythos that we are creating, he is another vampire like the Predator. I know I didn't need to, but I'm creating the Ripper. And I think that there's a lot of hysteria and fear around death in a way that, people have always been afraid of death, and people will always be afraid of death, I'm sure. It is the ultimate end. We don't know what happens afterwards. But I think that with a creature or a person, whoever it is that is doing it, sort of taking it away earlier than they are supposed to, that like death can't be seen as something that is patient and the natural end and the natural next step when your body is done. And I think that there are a lot of laws in place, and people are hunting down people that they are perceiving as causing problems or causing deaths. And I think Heba is still doing her thing. I think she is still being a healer. I think she is still helping. I think she's in the hospitals now, I'm going to say in Paris. And she is helping people pass when they will not get better. And she knows they will not get better to the best of her ability. Things have had to change a little bit, I think, with the way that medicine and technology has been happening. But even with all of those things, especially at that time, there are some things that you just like cannot come back from. And so she wants them to have some dignity in that choice. And I think she offers death, not to become a creature of the night, or however you are going to refer to it, but like, let me help you ease your passing. And a loved one hears her ask, maybe it's a daughter hears her ask the father who is dying and will not get better, let me help this. Let me help you. It'll be painless and I can help you. And he is in the process of agreeing, because I think that he knows where things are going. And I think that his daughter hears them and raises the alarm and panics and is not ready to let go and doesn't want that to happen. And so, tells like hospital administration and or whoever would be in charge of the hospitals at that time, which is, not super great. It wasn't the cleanest environment. It wasn't like hospital standards the way we have them today, but whoever is in charge, whoever's running that hospital, she runs to them and they arrest her. They arrest Heba. They put her in a jail, which, not great at that time. not good conditions. And I think that there is somebody else in that jail who watched her guide like their brother's soul, perhaps, or their child's soul, like across into a comfortable and dignified death. And I think he just like breaks her out and gets her out of the city. And I think that this is like the first indication for Heba that like things are changing and the fear of death has become so much higher for people than the idea that it is the logical and correct next step when your body is done, capital D, done. And so I think that she goes into hiding for a while. I think she is traveling a lot, does a lot of like passing through. And I mean, I think she can also consume shadows of like animals and livestock and things. And I think that maybe she doesn't come in contact with humans for a while. I think she sort of goes and hangs out in the woods and maybe helps hunters a little bit by like, if you shoot a deer and it's not quite dead yet, she can get to it first and it's gonna die. She knows it. And so she'll consume its shadow so she can eat, and then she will move on. And I think that because she continues to stay in all white, and that's very important to her because she still wants to try to integrate herself back in because she has a need to help and protect. And I think that she does it in such a way that like, I think probably there are stories that urban legends that make it back into the towns wherever the hunters go back to afterwards. And they maybe even view her as like some kind of fae creature because she only appears when the animal that they are hunting is about to pass. And I think maybe that people start seeing her as like a blessing of the hunt, right? Because she only appears when they have gotten a large kill, a boar, a deer, a stag. Maybe even she goes up into sort of the Norse area and like when they fell a reindeer and she is able to, she shows up and she consumes the shadow and eases it into passing so that they don't have to go in while it is struggling in its death throes. And I think she becomes this sort of figure that people view again as that like that guardian helper, which is what she wants, but she's not quite ready to like head back into villages and towns and cities and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so this has been super cool and I really enjoy it. And I understand that there's a lot of that this is one where you end up like, I can absolutely see how this could take ages and ages, and you could just like have all this time to sit and write up what is going on with your vampire. And I'm like super jazzed to do more of it. I'm really excited about the idea that like I can create more of her story and see where she goes. And I definitely, because, you know, we all know how much time everyone has for the amount of games that they want to play. If only I had 1,000 years. But I want to write her more of her story up. I think she's really cool and I like her motivations. And honestly, I really love sort of subverting the trope of the bloodthirsty vampire who's only interested in sex and death and violence. I don't think that that has to be it. And so I'm really interested to see where she goes. That is the beginning of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. See what we got. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me today and exploring stories that don't fit with how everybody says they're supposed to fit. I appreciate everybody allowing me to like just sort of like worm my way into all of these places and find the story that feels correct for what I have to tell. And for joining me on that journey, I really love it. I would like to thank, with that in mind, I would like to thank Tim Hutchings for making this like really beautiful book that I am able to interact with in this way. It's you can order it. It's not terribly expensive. It's also at most of your friendly local game stores, which I encourage you to always patronize. Thank you to Marcus Mays, who is my tech over at Gen Con TV. I super appreciate you making sure everything is running smoothly for us. I would like to thank Gen Con TV and Peter Atkinson for trusting me to program my show in such a way that I'm able to spotlight things that don't have a lot of eyeballs. I think it's important, and I appreciate all of the trust and responsibility that they have given me. I would like to thank my partner, Jeff, who helps me every week by making sure that this is edited properly and has the right overlays and sounds good and looks good, and in general attempts to keep me a sane, happy, together human. And I would like to thank all of you at home one more time for joining me on this craziness that I do. You can find me next week right here, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/GenConTV. We are going to be doing another episode of Retrograde. That is by Grant Howitt. And I have my guests back, Patrick Keefe and Becca Godsey, and the two of them have been in a series of that game, which is supposed to just be a one-shot, where you get your memories back. And I have been looping them, where more memories are bleeding through and more memories are bleeding through from previous times. And I don't know how many more we're going to be able to do, but things are very complex now, and I'm super excited to see where that story goes. So join me next week for that. And then, I got some other cool stuff coming up. If you are a person who makes games and who has made an indie game and who is interested in getting it on my show, like, please contact me. You can go to my website, which is pixiesandpins.com, or you can find me on any of the platforms at Pixies and Pins, and you can direct message me through there. And just like reach out and let me know that you have a game, that you have a module. I want to show what you're doing. And I'm excited about it. So Hit me up. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. I want everyone to enjoy the rest of their Friday night. And I hope that your weekend is wonderful. And I hope that however you choose to interact with this Halloween holiday season, that you are getting exactly what you want. So, as always, keep making art and keep being art. We'll see you next time. Mwah!